Hello and welcome to Car and Bike, and today we have a very interesting comparison for you. Well, Bilal, as you see, we have two brands that have been competing for ages, Mercedes-Benz and BMW.
Yeah, both these brands have been competing against each other in every single segment possible. And off late, the entry-level luxury SUV segment, it's seeing some action. And now we have got the two ones which are competing in the electric space.
Well, you're right, we have the EQA and the BMW iX1, and today we'll be finding out which of these brands has managed to give us a wholesome entry-level luxury electric SUV.
And we will be testing these both out on 5 different parameters. Now, each parameter has 2 points awarded by each one of us. So, each of these two cars have 10 points to score. So, let's find out at the end of this video which car manages to come on top.
I'm Seshan Raghavan.
I'm Bilal Firfire.
And if you're new to Car and Bike, do subscribe to the channel. And while you're at it, do hit that bell notification as well, so you never miss an update from us.
Now let's begin with the first parameter, and that's looks and size. And Seshan, on paper, the iX1 is definitely longer, wider and taller.
Well, I agree with you, but the fact of the matter is, despite its bigger size, it is the EQA that offers you a longer wheelbase. And that is the dimension fact that truly matters for me.
But in perception, I prefer the design of the iX1 because it looks like a proper crossover. It has an SUV stance, and that chiseled look, it definitely gives it a handsome look.
Well, that's true, but I have a feeling that most EV buyers want their EV to look like an EV. And when that is considered, it is the EQA that stands out like an electric vehicle, whereas that one will get lost in the crowd. Put it against a regular X1 and people will not be able to differentiate except for the green number plate.
So what will be your score there?
Well, I have to say, although I do agree with your point and I like how the iX1 looks, but I have to say that this point goes to the EQA for me.
And for me, I'll stick my opinion about the iX1's design, and my points, it goes to the BMW.
So it's 1 and 1.
So the next parameter we have is comfort and space, and we are sitting right now in the BMW iX1, and Seshan, I would like to say that this feels more spacious and more comfortable because I like the seats. They are very large, comfortable, they have nice bolsters and good support. Secondly, this floating console, again, it has its hits and misses, but I like this slightly tweaked EV platform that they have done compared to the standard X1. And this feels like modern EV.
Yeah, well, I agree with you because as I earlier pointed out that the EQA looks like an EV from outside, but when you sit up inside the cabin, I have to say that the iX1 has that more EV-ish appearance compared to the EQA, because from inside the cabin it is very similar to the regular
standard
GLA.
Yeah.
Correct.
The GLA in itself is a really good car, but when you have a transition towards EV, as you said, in the exterior, the cabin should also feel like an EV, but it doesn't over there.
That's true, but one complaint that I do have in this car, and I think it will be present in the EQA as well, is that because of the battery pack, the floor is a bit high, and that which is why I'm also sitting higher. And my under thigh support is definitely compromised. Now I am 5'9" tall, and
I'm 5'7", and it's my driving position. So what's the space like?
So the knee room is good. I am not complaining about that. Yes, I could do with better room under the seat to keep my legs, but that is a bit compromised. However, my legs are not an issue. It is my under thigh support which is being compromised. But I think if only 2 people are sitting over here in the second row, which ideally is what this is suited for, then I think I will be pretty much comfortable even in long distance journeys, because this central armrest with the cup holders, that too gives me enough space. There is good amount of armrest space in the doors as well, and I like the fact that this has lighter interiors. And you have bigger windows and this big panoramic sunroof with smaller bezels compared to the EQA, and it gives a more wide and open, airy atmosphere, and that is something that I particularly like.
Okay, but before giving out our scores now for the comfort and space, let's sit in the EQA and see how that's like.
Well, definitely, let's go there. Bilal, again you're sitting up front and I'm sitting at the back.
Yeah, and right off the bat, the EQA, it feels exactly like I'm sitting in a GLA. It feels more conventional rather than contemporary that you get in the iX1.
True, but you can see that you have those starry pattern on the dashboard.
Both
AC
have-
vent colors are different, so that does give it a distinction.
Yeah, but both have floating touchscreens. And this cabin, it's like more traditional Mercedes. This is the cabin which my father would prefer rather than I'm preferring the iX1's cabin.
Well, that's true.
But
It
what's
is
the
also
space at the back?
space, of course. This is definitely high. The floor height is quite high. In fact, but this does feel a little more uncomfortable compared to the iX1 because the seats are lower. So I am sitting much higher, and I don't have any wiggle room to get some under thigh support.
But someone was saying that this car has a longer wheelbase.
That is true because my legs are, there's enough knee room. Also, the back of this driver seat has been scooped out, so knee room is not an issue. And also, I have good amount of space under the seat, driver seat, to place my feet. So that is where the longer wheelbase has come into play. But as that is a taller car and the seats are also higher, the under thigh support is where that is slightly better, and this one is slightly uncomfortable.
As you mentioned about the seats, again, the seats up front, it's comfortable, it's good, but not as comfortable or supportive or hugging as the one in the iX1.
The cushioning is a bit slightly stiffer compared to the
and the
iX1.
black upholstery, it makes the cabin feel more cramped than it actually is.
Yes, that's
and
true.
Also the fact that it has a big chunk of pillar in the whole panoramic sunroof, which isn't the case in the iX1.
Right, the windows are smaller. So yes, I get your point that this feels slightly more claustrophobic compared to the iX1.
But before we give out our points, let's check out the boot and what's the case there.
Yes, let's do that.
So Seshan, what's the boot space in the EQA like?
Well, on paper, that has more boot space. That is about
490 liters almost.
Yes. And this is slightly lesser. However, I like how this has been designed. The bumper lip is more flatter, and you put loading stuff will be easier. And also, one of the biggest aspects, that has a big space saver, taking up a large chunk of the boot space.
Despite the bigger,
here there are just some charging cable bags which you can easily put somewhere else. And you can use this enough. So that is one big negative that has.
Despite the big boot space of almost 500 liters, I can't barely use this one because the space saver is eating up space, and there's some more space underneath it. But again, it's not accessible because I can't lift the.
Right, it's heavier. Not everyone can easily do that. But yes, it is more practically designed, whereas that could have been slightly better.
But does it have a spare wheel?
No, it doesn't get a spare wheel. You only get a puncture repair kit. And I think most cars nowadays get that with tubeless tires. Most manufacturers are going towards that direction because you do not need a spare wheel. And so that boils up to you if you need it or not. That's the question.
So coming back to the points, which car gets your point now?
Well, taking all things into consideration, I feel that when you purely talk about space and comfort, for me it's the iX1, and I would give my point to BMW.
Well, same here because, as I said earlier, this one felt more comfortable on the inside. It's a more well-rounded product overall, whereas the EQA, it could have used a newer platform. Although it's a newer car in the segment, it could have used a better platform to have a better overall packaging. So my point also goes to the iX1.
So there you have it. The scoreboard is slightly favoring the BMW at the moment.
It might change in the next parameter.
Let's go and see. Well, let's get onto the features and tech part, and I think it is one area where the EQA does get an upper hand over the iX1.
Yeah, it has a few more features.
Well, yes, you get a 360-degree view camera, you get memory function for the passenger and both of them get 3 levels of adjustment, whereas the BMW only gets
have 2, and that's
only for driver. And then again, you also get a head-up display, which is again not available on the BMW.
Yeah, but feature to feature, they match in almost all the parameters. This one has a curved display, which looks and feels slightly better than the one you get in the EQA.
But the interface on that one is
I
very
agree.
complicated.
Yeah, I don't like
and
that.
You have to go every other in-car function. You have to use the touch screen.
Very complicated.
You get more accessible, quick controls for AC, quick controls for other aspects, which is not available there. And that is something that will take some time getting used to. And it is much more convenient in that matter.
Yeah, it has MBUX.
It has MBUX again. It is much more user-friendly. We have seen that in all other Mercedes vehicles, and it is more easier to use. It's easier and quick, and the overall feel is much more convenient in for anyone, and even for a new buyer will be easier on this one.
Both cars do get ADAS, a necessary level of ADAS that both the
Yeah,
cars are offering.
some small levels of ADAS functions are available. However, the EQA does get blind spot assist, which
Yeah,
again,
which the iX1 doesn't. Yeah.
yes, that is the problem. And again, also, if you notice, you get bigger 19-inch wheels on these one, whereas that only gets 18 inches.
But which one looks better?
Well,
Looks
of
are
course,
subjective. Okay,
looks
deal.
are
Looks are
subjective. Looks are
subjective. We
subjective.
won't talk about
And
that.
we won't go there.
But-
But you do let us know in the comments which wheels do you like.
So scoring then, what do you think?
Okay. Again, as I started off with this conversation, I think when it comes to pure tech features, in terms of overall usability, it is the EQA that definitely gets an upper hand over here and is the winner for me.
And I think it's the first time I'm giving my score to the EQA as well.
Yes, that's true.
So Seshan, finally we are driving the iX1 and it's the next parameter, that's the performance and drivability.
And it's one of the more important ones for sure. iX1.
Yeah. So how you have driven the iX1?
Yes.
So what's your opinion on it?
I have to say I am quite impressed by it. It is quick, it is agile, and it is quite fun to drive, frankly. Because of course the credit goes to its dual motor setup.
Exactly.
So you have that X-Drive all-wheel drive functionality of BMWs available at your disposal. And then
So
again,
almost 308 horsepower
yeah,
and 500 Newton meter. at your
those are
disposal.
impressive numbers
So
for sure. And
acceleration is good, but more importantly, it gets one paddle shifter and
Yeah.
gives you this. Now
this is one of my favorite bits about BMW's electric vehicles.
That
That
was quick, yeah.
instant push, it slaps you on the seat and there's a grin on your face.
that's what I have right now. And this is something that's missing in the EQA, right?
Yeah, that is 100%. That is what's missing there. It is quick. No, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It is quick. It is for an EV. It is quite capable. But that rush that you get while
Driving the
driving the
So-
iX1, especially when you hit that one paddle,
right.
that is missing.
That EV needs to feel special. It needs to feel fast because with the advent of EVs, all the manufacturers, they are giving out their best. And once the EQA came out, it is like, I think Mercedes should have given the dual motor setup with the EQA in India. Because again, as you've seen here in the iX1, it is fast. It's phenomenally fast. But more importantly, for everyday drivability, it's not, say, too much. The 308 horsepower that you get, it's not a lot. It's just enough because when you have to do city commutes, when you have to do, say, office run, or you have to go drop kids to the school,
100%.
this is good enough for it's smooth, it's refined, it doesn't let you down at any point of time,
Correct.
and you have 400 kilometers of range.
Well, that is true. Performance and range. That is what the combination offers you, and it is quite impressive. Even the how the car performs on the road, I love the ride quality. This is certainly, I've driven both these cars back to back. We'll be talking more in detail about the EQA next,
Right.
but this feels the ride quality on this one is quite better. It is slightly on the softer side compared to the EQA.
Again,
And
someone was complaining that this one has a smaller wheel size compared to the EQA.
But that is the benefit of having that smaller wheel size, right?
Yeah.
That is what works in the
In the
iX1's
favor,
favor.
It doesn't look too small in.
It doesn't look too small, but
in design. Yeah, but the good trade-off is you have a really good ride quality. It's well dampened. Going over the rough patches, it absorbs quite nicely. Which, in comparison, the EQA, it rattles out.
Also, it has the dynamic dampers, which is not available in the EQA, and that is what gives you that amazing ride quality and the suspension setup, which certainly both of us have come to love.
And even this is a BMW, so you would expect a good handling package because
Yeah,
the steering is light, it's quick, and you know exactly where your wheels are headed. And again, when you want to have fun behind the wheel, I'm sure this one offers a better package than the
True,
EQA.
I am not a big fan of light steering, but after all, electric vehicles, you do have them. Good thing about it is, although it is light when you feel it, but when you're even doing triple digit speeds or
Hmm.
higher speeds, it doesn't feel unsettling. It feels stable. That works for me in terms of overall performance. Well, the iX1 is a good handling car, it offers good ride quality, and it is quick. Well,
Just quick.
well, I knew you were going to do that.
Yeah, before I head to the EQA, I had to do it.
Yeah, I had to. So, so let's move on to the EQA and find out what that has to offer. So now we are inside the EQA, a little bit different in terms of what the car has to offer, doesn't it?
Yeah, to be honest, where's the acceleration?
Not bad. Yes, as you see, it's
Yeah.
not bad. And of course, after all, it's not the iX1 because the iX1 has that dual motor setup.
Yep.
It has a single, but even for the single motor, it is quite quick.
Yeah, for a single motor setup, if I consider, it's not that bad. But when you can have had the 350, I think the version that is sold internationally with the dual motor setup, that's more powerful than the iX1 we have here. So that would have been a different case altogether.
Totally,
But now,
that would have allowed Merc to take the competition to BMW straight away. But I think it's not something that we can disregard. Maybe the company will plan to bring it to India later on. But yes, at the moment you only get a single motor setup in India, the 250 plus.
and it's for everyday drivability, it's not too bad. Like, it's smooth. It has good decent amount of acceleration. But one thing what I would like to mention, that where the iX1 had that characteristic fast car persona, here this one it's very subdued. It's for a person who wants to do daily commutes but doesn't want to enjoy the driving, is what I feel like. Like,
But,
it's just a car to get you from point A to point B.
well, I don't think it's that drastic. It is quite fun. It is quite good. But the overall focus here was to give a comfortable, fairly good performing and good range electric car, and that is what the EQA is. I think it does that a fine job. The idea was to make it a comfortable everyday car that is also quick and fun, and it is more convenient as well. You have better regeneration modes over here, and they are
that
accessible as well. You have two paddle shifters here which are for the two multiple regions, and in the BMW again you have to go through that touch
Through
screen.
the touch
It is
screen,
difficult to
find
do that
the
when you're driving.
mode, go into that. Then there are three options to choose from, and then there's something called adaptive, which isn't that great in everyday drivability because you never know what levels of regen you'll get.
But it's not the case here because the regions work perfectly. If you are down on range, you want to expand the kilometers on the console, then you can use the sensitive control, and that is easily accessible through these paddle shifters.
But the highest regen is still, according to me, is not exactly a one pedal setup because it is a bit
It is.
harsh
I think
in
it
its
is
operation.
enough because I am not a big fan of the one pedal setup either, because that in a traffic environment like India, I don't think it's a very safe option considering how erratic the traffic always is. So I think it's better to have that control with me.
Yeah.
But the strong setting on this one is also pretty good in that sense. So you just saw what I did there. The region was set at a maximum, and it was decent enough. So I don't have any major complaints on that regard. But however, let's go to ride quality. The performance is good.
Yeah.
We have spoken about it. Yes, it's not BMW iX1 good, but I feel it is good enough. Ride quality and handling.
And it feels weird to say this because usually BMWs have always been stiffer and Mercedes offering more comfort. But the case has been reversed now, and I feel this one is slightly more stiffly set up compared to the iX1
I
because
agree with
iX1 was much more comfortable in terms of ride quality. I can feel every irregularity on the road right now.
Yes, that is true. You do feel the harshness does seep in. However, the engage levels are quite good. The road noise and the tire noise is to
Well
a minimal.
insulated. Yeah.
And I think that is a good thing. But yes, I agree with you. The ride quality could have been better, given Mercs have a history of those
Making
plush,
comfortable cars.
comfortable
Yeah.
cars. But handling wise, it is quite good. It is almost at par with the iX1.
On par, yes.
If not better.
If not better, it is on par. True.
Yeah, because it does It has that slightly longer wheelbase. However, since it's not as long as the iX1, it makes up for that. But yeah, it makes up for that, and it also feels stable. It feels planted, even if you are a bit aggressive around the corners. And seeing the stunt you pulled while we were doing the iX1, I think you do like to do that.
Always, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So I think in that manner, it will be something that it does do its job well. And given the specs that we have at currently with the EQA, I don't think it's a bad option.
Not a bad choice for sure, but again, for a very specific target audience.
So let's give our votes then. iX1 or EQA?
You know the answer.
Yeah, I know the answer, and even though I was defending the EQA as much as I can, but it is true that when it comes to sheer performance and drivability, it is the iX1.
Wish we could separate the points, because I would have given 1 point for the performance, but for drivability, I could have given 1 point to the EQA, but we only have 1 point to give. So
yeah, so iX1 is it for this. So now let's come to the last and final parameter of the day: range, battery, and charging.
Right.
That is very important. These are EVs. This is the biggest highlight for me. Well, you have the specs. Let us know.
So the battery capacity in the EQA is definitely more. It has 70 kilowatt hour of battery pack, whereas this one it's slightly less. It's 66.5. But more importantly, that one has a single motor, which means less consumption. Over here, there are two motors. So overall, the range is that mentioned that
range is where this excels, because this can give you a claimed range of up to 560 kilometers on a single charge, and it can be as low as 497, and that is what Mercedes tells us. Whereas for the iX1, it starts at about 417 and goes up to 440 kilometers on a single charge. That is a difference in the real world figure.
Yeah, in real world condition, if our EV expertise is anything to go by, I think this one, the iX1, would go anywhere just over 400 kilometers in the real world condition. Whereas your EQA, it will be just under 500. So that's a difference of almost 100 kilometers.
And if you are a bit frugal, you can also touch
cross
500.
Yeah.
So that is a difference of 100 kilometers, and that is a big number for me. And if that is the case,
before we talk about the results, the charging capacity is almost equal. Both support 130 kilowatt of fast charging, and under slow charging condition, even the charge times are almost identical.
So that there is a match there. But however, that 100 kilometers figure for me is a big number. And yes, you have to compromise on one single motor, and that is fine if you are majorly going to be driving in the city. And 100 kilometers, that's a big number. And I think in this particular parameter, I think it's the EQA that's the winner for me, and I would give the EQA the score.
But me, I think I would compromise on those 100 kilometers, and I'll give my point to the iX1, because for that 100 kilometer of deficit, I have a better driving performance, which we discussed in the previous parameter. So I'll give my score to the iX1 once again.
So we have discussed the parameters. So let's get on to the scoring, the final scoring, and see which one is the winner.
And the pricing as well.
Yes, let's do that. So Bilal, the scores are out, and as we can see, it is the iX1.
But it wins by just a little margin.
Yeah, it's a win by a nose, and well, that is what we have. But we have to understand, although these are very similar, they are very different in character, and very different things are offered here.
A lot of things are common between them, but the way they do things is like poles apart.
Exactly. If we, as for the EQA, it is more tech rich, and it offers you all the creature comfort, and it is better on range.
Exactly.
And that is an important factor for a lot of buyers.
For a lot of EV buyers who still have that range anxiety, for them, it's a really important parameter.
Modern EV buyer might go for this one. Whereas for the iX1,
it has a better road dynamics, it is more comfortable on the inside, and feels proper, conventional yet very contemporary.
Well, that's true. So it all depends on what do you want, because given the price segment, the difference between these two cars is quite low, very less.
For this segment, this one, it costs around 71 lakh, while the EQA, it's around 69 lakh on both on the road Mumbai. So when you're paying 70 lakh rupees, 2 lakh margin isn't a lot.
Yes, exactly. So it boils down to what do you prefer. and that is what you will probably choose. But do let us know in the comments which one is that, and if you have any more suggestions for us, do put them down in the comment box below so we can make all those changes and answer all your questions. And if you like this video, do give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends.
And that's all from Seshan and Bilal. This is us signing off. Until next time.